Interesting news coming out of here. The Express, home of the Daily and Sunday Express. I don't know how credible this site is, but they're reporting end of ISIS. Putin sends in his most ruthless special forces killers to finish off jihadis. Vladimir Putin has dispatched his most elite special forces team to Syria to hunt down and wipe out Islamic State ISIS militants. That is today's date, October 6, just hours ago. The Russian Supremo ordered the deployment of soldiers from his fearsome Spetsnaz unit to root out and eliminate packs of fleeing jihadis. A battalion of elite paratroopers also ghosted into the war-torn country this week as Putin ramps up his assault on the Islamist fanatics and rebel forces fighting to topple dictator Bashar al-Assad. The deployment of the Spetsnaz, the elite of the elite in Russia's army who have to undergo a grueling training program to earn their stripes, is the latest example of megalomaniac leader's ruthless determination to shore up the rule of his close ally. It is especially significant because many of the men have a deep hatred of jihadis from their time fighting in Chechnya's bloody civil war, when Islamist fanatics battling for independence carried out frequent atrocities against Russian citizens. Vladimir Putin has dispatched his most feared troops in Syria. The Spetsnaz are Russia's most elite killers, shown here. Amongst the world's most efficient killers, they will now be tasked with merciless hunting down and slaying ISIS fighters, and are also expected to play a role rooting out terrorist strongholds to be targeted by Russian bombers. The move comes after it emerged that Putin is set to send 150,000 troops to Syria to wipe out the evil hate group once and for all. His jets have waged a merciless bombing campaign against the jihadis in recent weeks, blitzing more than 50 facilities, including a key command center and a suicide belt factory. Short clip here from RT Reuters News. A military source told the Mirror they are extremely aggressive and highly trained. They are there to mop up after airstrikes, calling airstrikes go on extremely covert missions against rebels and ultimately wipe them out. And they will not be as accountable as British or U.S. Special Forces. They are there for one reason: to wipe out anyone threatening Assad by any means. And by doing that, they will be consolidating Russia's position on the Med and in the Middle East. The fight against ISIS. Pictures here. Bombs dropped by a Russian warplane during an airstrike against a large concentration of terrorist Islamic State military equipment in the forest area near the city of Idlib, Syria. Elite troopers will be tasked with taking out opponents. And we have different pictures here. Vladimir Putin is stepping up his campaign against ISIS in Syria. It is believed that ISIS has already suffered crushing losses due to airstrikes and defections, with a leading terror expert telling Express.co.uk that they are now so weakened they could be defeated in a matter of hours. Putin began his aerial assault in Syria last week, with Russia launching dozens of airstrikes against ISIS and other terrorist groups. Now, not only does this make Obama a liar, but it makes the U.S. Very vulnerable looking. Makes us look very weak because, obviously we supposedly try to fight them over a year now. And so, is this the plan? Is this the what the New World Order wants the world to believe, that Russia will conquer and America will be destroyed? I'm just saying. Putin's bombers have waged a merciless campaign against the jihadis. Russian bombers have obliterated a command center and a suicide belt factory. However, Western leaders have reacted furiously to the intervention after intelligence suggested that hardly any of the raids have been targeted against ISIS. Putin is keen to shore up the rule of brutal dictator al-Assad, a longtime ally whose power is threatened by rebel pro-democracy groups, including the Free Syrian Army. Well, I don't agree with that. And the next news from the same news agency expressed, Putin jets pound ISIS targets in Palmyra as NATO warns Russian troops on ground in Syria. So NATO is now warning him. This is today's date again, just hours ago. Russian jets have pounded the Islamic State ISIS-held city of Palmyra after supposedly ISIS destroyed the Palmyra ancient grounds there. Bombers targeted key ISIS military installations in and around the modern-day Syrian city as a senior NATO chief warned that there is now a substantial buildup of Russian ground troops in the war-torn country. Palmyra was captured by the jihadi state group in May and is best known for its adjacent ancient Greco-Roman ruins, which have been systematically destroyed by the Islamist fighters. Jets also struck terrorist outposts in the northern province of Aleppo, which has been the scene of intense three-way battle between ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and forces loyal to dictator Bashar al-Assad. Russian bombers pounding the ISIS targets again. Military source told Syrian state television that the latest strikes had destroyed 20 jihadi tanks and 3 weapons depots in Palmyra. Meanwhile, in the disputed city of Aleppo, bombers pounded the towns of Al-Bab, Deir al-Hafer, around 10 miles east of a key military airport currently held by Assad's forces but under siege from ISIS fighters. Another 43-second bombing clip here. A spokesman for the Russian government confirmed that Sukhoi jets flew 15 sorties over Syria, striking 10 ISIS targets. Igor Koneshnikov, Russia's defense ministry spokesman, said during the day Sukhoi 34, Sukhoi 24M, and Sukhoi 25 warplanes flew a total of 15 sorties from the Khmeimim air base. Airstrikes were delivered at 10 targets of the Islamic State group in Syria. About 20 units of medium T-55 tanks, which were earlier seized by the militants from the Syrian army, have been destroyed in the strikes, as well as 3 multiple rocket launchers. We have irrefutable intelligence, including communications between the militants in the area, proving the destruction and damage of the terrorist armored vehicles. Russian targets the Russian strikes targeted ISIS outposts near Palmyra. The raids came as NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg warned of an increasing tensions between Russia and the West over Putin's substantial military buildup in Syria, which he said is of great concern. That kind of fouls up our plans. He also said several near misses between Russian and Turkish jets in recent days were an unacceptable violation of NATO airspace, and added, "It doesn't look like an accident, and we've seen 2 of them over the weekend." Again, as I have said before, if Obama wanted to destroy ISIS, he could have done it in probably 3 to 5 days a long time ago. His outspoken remarks came after it emerged that Putin had sent in his crack Special Forces brigade to wipe out the jihadis fighting his ally al-Assad. Elite troopers from the Spetsnaz unit will be tasked with identifying targets for airstrikes, mopping up Islamist fighters, and carrying out assassinations as Russia's involvement in the region continues to step up dramatically. So here's the thing. Obama and the regime here, who keeps blaming Bashar al-Assad as a ruthless killer, and I don't disagree that he is not a good man. But the thing of it is that Syria, before Obama came in there with his Muslim Brotherhood from many other nations that he's promoted and pushed in there, and his Arab Spring that he started over 5 years ago. The thing of it is that are we saying this? Are we saying that, well, we have somebody bad here, so we need to get rid of them, so let's create someone else far more dangerous to Christians and kill off the semi-bad person? In other words, we're going to use a bigger bad apple to destroy something that is far less dangerous to mankind. Wouldn't that be a good way to make it look like there's a good reason to start a war? But Putin seems to be messing up their plans. Anyway, that's all for tonight's report. Thank you for listening. God bless you.